What's up, everybody? Forgive my shortness of breath today. I just got off my Peloton. I got a Peloton last week, so I could start doing a little extra cardio while in quarantine here, and just trying to do my rides every day. My username on there is J Delarose, my first initial and last name. For those who want to follow and be friends on there and whatever, I encourage it because I think it's better for everybody to get in shape, do what we can. Especially in this virus time, you want to be in peak condition because if something gets you and you're hit, your condition is going to, carry a lot over into the outcome of that. So we all need to buckle down. Don't use the quarantine. I mean, unfortunately, I've been using the quarantine for, just bored snacking. If you understand that, yeah, let me know. But I just like when I get bored, I'm sitting there and there's a box of wheat thins. I mean, I would just chow down and eat that entire thing, even though I'm not hungry. And so when I'm at the office and stuff, I'm able to just not do that because I don't have it next to me. And then I just, instruct my wife not to buy the stuff. But when everybody's home, the kids are home, they're all snacking all day long. It's hard to not do that. All right, we'll get into today's topic, which comes from Bounding Into Comics. One of my favorite websites, boundingintocomics.com. Great comic news, good people, all the way around. And there's a meme that's gone around based on SpongeBob. And here it is. Netflix, an unnecessary gay character, and they just shove it into the series. And this has been happening all the time. It doesn't just happen in adult shows, but it happens in kids shows, which is, that's where the message has changed over the last 20 years to just let us do what we want and accept our adult lifestyles to we're going to push this on your kids. And that's where I kind of take exception with things going on at this point. And every show is now doing this, not just one show. Every show is throwing this in there. So you are forced to watch and it's always a 100% positive portrayal of just this random happy-go-lucky, happier than all the rest of the characters, better than all the rest of the characters. And they're just kind of smug and just hang out in the background and don't actually add anything to the plot or do anything for the show whatsoever. So that's what it's talking about here. And this, it's really annoying. It makes me not want to watch anything past like 1988 TV wise, but whatever. And here's Netflix responding to that. So they wanted to gotcha this guy and said, sorry, you've yet to realize that every gay person is very necessary. Now, this is interesting. And this is a rule of writing. This has nothing to do with somebody in reality and their value towards the world. This has everything to do with writing and characters. So this is a writing lesson for y'all. There is a writing principle called Chekhov's gun. And it says that if you put a gun in the scene in the first act, somebody had better fire that gun for the purpose of the plot by the third act. So everything in your writing should be intentional, and it should have a purpose towards the plot, towards the overall storyline. And this is where Netflix is conflating things intentionally to virtue signal, which drives me crazy. This makes me want to cancel my Netflix subscription because they are sneering at people saying, you're so stupid. We're going to conflate an actual reality of people with a trope of writing and storytelling, which is necessary for professional writing. And we're going to put in unprofessional writing just because otherwise we're going to call you a bigot. And that's their intention here. Very, very sneering, very hateful from Netflix, especially towards Christians and Mormons, anybody really religious. And so this is what's done in all these shows. They just put this happy person in the background as a virtue signal to go, okay, this is such a, let's clap for this. Let's clap for this person's existence, even though it's not a real person. And they don't add anything to the plot. There's no purpose for it. There's no real driving characterization of that. They're just a token to be there. South Park makes fun of this because it's also done with minorities to throw in a random black person in there just to say, hey, here's Token. And I mean, South Park even named their character Token to mock that. And, you know, I mean, if the character does not add something and you're just throwing that in there to like try to capture a certain audience, you know, that audience looks at that. If I'm a black person, I look at, you know, a token in the background. I'm going to say this is not just this isn't pandering to me. This is insulting my intelligence to say that, like, trying to get me to identify with this background character that doesn't do anything. As a Hispanic man, which I actually am, I see the same thing. But honestly, they don't seem to do it with Hispanics as much. We don't get a lot of positive representation like that for some reason. I don't know why. I think the Netflix overlords view us as gardening slaves or something like that. Whatever. So yes, I guess some minority groups are more privileged than others in these environments. But it all amounts to virtue signaling, and that's not to say you can't have a great show with a black character or whatnot. I've watched plenty of those. Not to say you can't even have a great show with a gay character. Not I don't want to watch that as much because that is a behavioral sort of thing. It's not a just factor of somebody, you know, the way they look and you know, it is what it is. It is a different deal. And as a Christian, I don't want to put, I would say, sinful behaviors into my head as much. And that's why I don't watch Game of Thrones or anything like that. I mean, any sort of nasty sexual situations, I try to avoid, no matter what the preference is for those. Not something we should watch. Yeah, I've lost a lot of followers because I've railed on porn and I said you guys should stop watching porn, but whatever. That's another diatribe. This is just about the Chekhov's gun situation. And Netflix, you are wrong. Good storytelling, anything you do in a story should have a purpose towards the story. And I was just telling somebody about that this morning who was talking about my book Colony Launch. And he was saying, hey, why did you choose the city of Jupiter, Florida to set this in, which is where one of the perspectives takes place throughout the show. And he's like, I live close to there, and there's this whole neighborhood where like the super rich live, and Tiger Woods lives there and all that. And I said, I put that in there, and I use that intentionally because I know the super rich live there and Tiger Woods live there, and I wanted to have a super wealthy philanthropist character doing his deeds, and I wanted to show that, and I showed that through setting. And so every detail of writing has to be intentional. And that's where Netflix is wrong. There are unnecessary characters a lot of the times. Sometimes you need to cut characters because you just like throw a cast of characters down there, and you know, maybe only 4 of them serve the plot, but there's 5 of them. 2 of them serve the same purpose. You cut that character because just having extra names and extra identities in there for the sake of it doesn't add to the plot. It actually confuses the viewer or the reader, depending on how things go, especially when 2 characters act and sound similar. So it's a lesson of writing, and Netflix doesn't care about the writing; they care about their social agenda, and they care about pushing social agendas on you, and that's the lesson of today. So it's a big conflation on their part. This has nothing to do with some real person's identity and their value as a person and as a human being. As we all know, we are all God's creation, and God loves us all. And so that is what the truth about things. And Netflix is trying to pretend like somebody else is making a statement that they're not making here in order to virtue signal. Now, I don't know who this Adam guy is. Let me see. So this is just a random dude on Twitter, and Netflix is apparently just, you know, quote tweeting some random dude in order to gotcha them. So that's how you go with this stuff. All right. Speaking of Colony Launch, I would love if you would check out Colony Launch. It is good classic science fiction in a manner in which it used to be, where there was a full sense of wonder. Everything matters. I've got 4 perspective characters. They all matter. They all bring different things to the table. I've got Anthony, who is the natural leader. He is my archetype of what I would want from a politician. I have Morgan in there, and she is a security officer, and she is the archetype of my sort of like Starfleet security officer type person that I would want people to strive to be. Now she starts out in a broken place, and she finds her purpose, and I like redemption stories like that. Also, we have a criminal who is reforming and actually pushing things in a right direction, because I believe in redemption, as I mentioned before. And I think that, our society, I wanted to make a point because our society really does not treat criminals right, and doesn't ever allow for any sort of redemption or change in an individual based on our current criminal justice system. It's really ugly. And then fourth, I have a daughter of a billionaire philanthropist, as mentioned, and she is trying to live up to her father's legacy, and also is a very smart person trying to do what's right in the world and use what she's been given and blessed for good. And so those are my four perspective characters. They all have a purpose. They all come together. They all have their own plots in the storyline. I don't know. I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I really outdid myself, guys. And so they all have a purpose. Every character has a real purpose towards the story, and the story matters. So I hope you'll check it out. I'll leave the link down in the description below. But that is how you're supposed to write Netflix. Characters don't always matter, but they should if you have good writing. Leave a comment, hit that like button, subscribe button, and I will see you soon.